All right, I have returned. So I want to talk about postpartum now. Um, I struggled with what I didn't know was bipolar 2 from like my adolescence till I was diagnosed. It was brutal, real brutal. Because I was unmedicated during that time, and I had anxiety and I was unmedicated. I had ADHD and I was unmedicated, and it was just bad news bears. So I wasn't aware that having an eating disorder puts you at a higher risk to develop postpartum depression. And quite frankly, I didn't really know anything about it. I just knew that it was something, and it wasn't talked about a lot. Talk of it was really new around that time. This was around 2008 is when I had my daughter. It was 2008. So talk wasn't popular like it is now. And I'm so glad that talk is happening about it now. So mothers aren't suffering in fucking silence. And so I remember going to my 6-week postpartum checkup, and that's the appointment where you're, quote, supposed to, according to the media, have lost all your baby weight. Well, let me tell you what, throw that out the window and then go smash it with a machete and throw acid on it and then light it on fire. Because that's unreasonable and it's bullshit. And whoever came up with that was clearly a man. But at my appointment, I told them that I was depressed. And they were like, I was explaining kind of like how I was feeling, like disconnected, feeling like I was having a hard time bonding with my daughter, having a hard time getting out of bed, seriously lacking motivation to take care of myself, hygiene wise, difficult to like feed myself. And a lot of that is hard to separate from like, is this newborn baby schedule that I'm trying super duper hard to adjust to because I'm nursing every 2 to 3 hours? Or is this postpartum depression? And it was postpartum depression because it was swallowing me whole. So they gave me a prescription for Zoloft. Well, at the time, I didn't know I was bipolar 2. And so I was like, thank you, a medicine that I can take while I'm breastfeeding that's supposed to help my postpartum depression. Thank you, doctor. Goes to refill it. And it turned me into a raging bitch because Zoloft is not a compatible medication to take for people with bipolar 2. So I figured that out real quick and stopped taking it. And I didn't really have any other options because I was breastfeeding. So the crazy just went on. I nursed for 8 months and I wanted to go a full year, but Izzy just didn't want to nurse for a full year. She weaned herself. So I was like, all right, I can't force you here. During this time, I also had my last and final struggle with religion. Izzy's dad and his family were super active in their church. and I was forced to go, and I hated the forced aspect of it, but I was raised Catholic and was like banned from the Catholic Church. And then in high school, I went to a Christian church, Disciples of Christ, with my best friend, and I was raped, and I stopped going to church. And then I started going to church with my daughter's dad, and I was never really like into it. I kept having to convince myself that, like, yeah, this is true, like this is the truth, this is God's word, blah blah blah. And then I'm in this abusive, non-supportive marriage, and I couldn't believe anything that the church was saying, and that was it for me. I learned a lot about of other religions, and I dug deep into science, and I came to terms with the fact that I'm just an atheist. I did relapse after Isabel stopped nursing, and it happened really fast and really hard, and I was heavily restricting, and I was purging, and I was re-diagnosed from anorexia restricting subtype to anorexia binge purge subtype, except the doctor eliminated the binge part of the subtype for me because he had me track my intake for an entire month, which was super triggering. I can't believe that he had me do that, but he did. And evaluated the fact that I don't binge, and diagnosed me as ANP subtype, anorexia nervosa purging subtype. I went inpatient for 3 months. Changed my life. I'll talk about the programs that I've been in another video. I was okay when I came out, but I came home to the same bullshit, same abusive marriage, and the abuse turned into sexual abuse. He raped me, and I knew I had to get out of that relationship. And I didn't know what to do. I relapsed and I went inpatient again for a month. During Isabel's developing years, I've seen many shrinks and many therapists. I was diagnosed with the bipolar 2, generalized anxiety panic disorder, PTSD, and ADHD while I was inpatient for 3 months because I went through this extensive, like, 3-hour testing that they have you do, and it was like 3 different tests that I had to do. Like I said, I went through a divorce. I've had subsequent shitty relationships and abusive relationships. I tried eating disorder support groups. This one I went to, I was in for a while. I got kicked out of it. Now I'm properly medication managed thanks to my lovely psychiatrist that I've been with now for 5 years. And then I relapsed last year really hard. And then I admitted to ed care, and I was there for 3 months over the summer. And here I am now. So yeah, I'm a mother with an eating disorder. This is me.